Hey, we're live from STS Studios, and I've got my co-host, Mean Gene Jackson, on the other line. How's it going, Gene?
Not too bad, Brian. Not too bad. How are you?
Oh, we're doing good. Hey, I wanted to mention something real quick. You got you promoting a wrestling card. We talked about it off the air the last time we talked, but we had a real long episode. So I want you to go ahead and put that over. If there's any, if there's 2 or 3 people listening in that area, what the hell? 2 or 3 extra tickets always helps an independent show. So go ahead and put that over first before we do anything.
Okay, it's Sunday, October the 7th. It's going to be at 3 p.m. in Huntsville, Alabama at the Huntsville Civic Center. It's Twin States Wrestling. We're calling it Resurrection because we ran some Twin State shows a couple years back, and we're bringing it back, and we're promoting the car lot that I manage. They're a sponsor of the show, and we're going to have Brian Pillman Jr. there. We're going to have the Bomb Shelter, Joseph Swartz and Kodiak out of Indianapolis. We'll have Neil the Real Deal Taylor, Cabana Man Dan, Donnie Primetime, Nick Tramer, whole bunch of great people. I've way overbooked it, but it's going to be a pretty great show, and hope everybody comes and checks it out. If it does well, we're going to try to run a show around here every other month or so.
Good deal, good deal. It's just coincidental that it's with your car lot too, right?
Oh, yeah, purely coincidental. I had to step away from wrestling for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, when I can promote the car lot, they're suddenly okay with me being involved, although they don't entirely know that I'm running it. They just think I'm helping to run it.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
TwinStatesWrestling.com is where people can go and get their advance tickets.
Awesome. Good. Hopefully we get, like I said, 2 or 3 people listening in the Alabama area. They'll be able to jump on that and go.
And we got people driving over from like Oxford, Mississippi, and Ackerman, Mississippi, and we got some people coming down from Tennessee just to see Brian Pillman Jr. Your
parents don't count, okay? So you can't.
My parents wouldn't walk across the street to see a wrestling show. Well, my dad would, but not my mom.
Oh, my dad used to say that about anyone in concert. He wouldn't walk across the street to see anybody. even the most famous people he liked to listen to. He wouldn't pay them shit and wouldn't walk across the street. But yeah, Brian Pillman Jr. in that area is kind of unusual. So, and Brian Pillman Jr., you had an interview up on Twin States on the Facebook page there, and we seen him. Me and Lance seen him when I think it was a Meltzer panel, and we seen him go backstage, and I was like, who the fuck is that? And I didn't know who it was until you did your interview, and I was like, okay, well, we missed the opportunity to say hi to Brian Pillman Jr. because we had no idea who he was. So, but he's getting a huge push in the MLW right now, and lots of talk about him doing things in the future like New Japan and stuff, going over there and staying and learning how to work better. So it's going to be exciting to see in the next few years what happens to the kid.
Absolutely, and God, he looks just like his dad. It's amazing.
Yeah, he does. I think he's bigger though. Don't you think he's bigger than when his dad was?
Yeah, he is a bit bigger. Just now that he's grown his hair out and everything, I was just shocked. Because I hadn't seen him for a little while. Last time I saw him, he had short hair. I'm like, wow, now that he's grown out the mullet, like, you definitely can see the resemblance for sure.
All right. Well, let's get on with the show, as I like to say. Was it really that good? We go all the way back to September the 25th, 1982, for World Championship Wrestling, and we'll play the theme song while I'm saying that. And there'll be some dickwad that does a podcast think we're using his theme song, but just to let you know, we're not. That was in 1982. I stole that from that episode. And Gene, I watched this at 5:05 on WTBS when I had the chance. I'd run to my friend Ron's house, get my mom to drop me. We lived in the country. He dropped me. My friend Ron had. He had cable. Can you believe it? They had cable at their place, and we watched. I got to watch Georgia. It's what I always called it, Georgia wrestling. That's what we called it, not World Championship Wrestling. Even though it was called Georgia Championship Wrestling for a while. But they would drop me off there. I would watch wrestling and either spend a night or come home. Just always thought it was awesome because I was getting to watch another show.
Right.
And the reason we do this is as always, we think of things when we was a kid. We may think of stuff a lot better than it was. And so we're going to go to September the 25th, 1982. Gordon Solie comes right onto the show with a squash match featuring Paul Orndorff, and Solie and Piper are doing commentary. So, and Orndorff just does, I think all the fuck he does is an arm drag during the whole match.
Like 9 arm drags, and then I'm like, well, at least we're going to pay off with, one of the greatest pile drivers in the history of the business. And he finished him with a power slam. And so I didn't even get that. So I was a little bummed out.
Did you notice the drop down that Orndorff did? He goes to his back instead of his belly.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was what the fuck is he doing? I could hear me sitting backstage, in 1982. I was actually in the 10th grade, but just say I was there now, he would come through the curtain, I'd be yelling at him, "What the fuck are you doing, Orndorff?" But yeah, it looked really stupid. It was real weird. He was not a bad interview at all. I always remembered Orndorff to just be awesome in WWE. Don't remember much about being in NWA or WCW, whatever you want to call this. But he said the old phrase, "be a cold day in hell." So that scared me.
That's when you knew he was a tough guy right there. Well, I was 5 years old in 1982, so I probably wouldn't have had much to say to him when he come back through the curtain. So.
Well, thanks a lot, motherfucker. Gene. Yeah. I'm just a little older than Gene, guys. Just a little. Next, we had Super Destroyer, and one of our guests that was on here, Rick Davies, huge Super Destroyer fan and Mass Superstar fan. Super Destroyer was being pushed big time right at this time. He was the national champion. And that was Scott Irwin. I always thought it was Bill Irwin, but I looked it up. Bill was Super Destroyer number 2.
Right. Scott was the bigger one. He was doing the gimmick first, and then in Texas they were they did a tag team. But yeah, Scott was the original one, and he was the one in Georgia. And I always liked that gimmick. I mean, I'm looking back on it, watching the Legends of World Class and all that, and Memphis Monroe, who he was a megastar, so. Yeah. The different masks that I wore, I had one that had a big gold star on the side, just like the Super Destroyer mask, and then I had one with a star over the eye, like the Nightmares, and then I had one that was the takeoff of the Masked Superstars. So,
what we're talking about, one of these days, man, if you can arrange it, you got to get Memphis Monroe on here. I know we may have to get some sponsorship money to him and everything since he was such a big superstar, but we'll have to try to get him on here. And I love the mask too. For some reason, I was a huge mask guy, Mark, so I love the big star on the mask, and also with the Nightmares, I always liked that star. But Scott was a hell of a worker, huge guy, and believable. He had a solid interview. Piper is just. God, I remember this as everyone talking about it and how good he was. And he really was. Was he really that good? Yeah, he was fun to listen to. Him and Gordon Solie together really gelled well. Do you think Gordon Solie is still as good as Gordon Solie? Everyone always talks about Solie being so good, because my opinion of him is that he's still as good.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just a nostalgia factor because I grew up on him in Continental and, the old Florida stuff that I went back and watched later. But I like him, even in the days that a lot of people said that he was off his game and kind of checked out. I'm always going to be a fan of Gordon Solie. And, of course, I love Roddy Piper, one of my all-time favorites. And I really, like I said, this was before my time, so I haven't got to see a lot of the Solie-Piper combo. So that was one aspect of the show I really did enjoy, getting to see that because, like you said, it's famous. For years and years, I've heard about what a great pairing they were on TV, and they were.
Oh, they were really good, and I learned all this from wrestling magazines. I mean, Piper being, with Solie and everything, and then getting to go and hear just a little bit, and then the older tapes. Like, I started trading tapes, I guess, in 85 or 86. I tell that story 100 times, but I remember sending like best ofs or something that someone else was making, like 2 years later. Up next, we got Man, Chick Donovan is a weird looking guy. I just really, he does an interview in the later part of the show, and I just really never noticed that, Gene. But that hair, good God, he's just a weird. I always thought he looked like a cheap Ric Flair, and I guess that's kind of what he was trying to do. But he was wrestling Tom Pritchard, and I really don't know what those guys were doing. And there's no psychology. Did you notice that? They were like just, I don't know. It was not a good match. Gordon Soley told us that Pritchard was used to be a martial artist. So I don't know if he was into martial arts or not, if that was just bullshit. And Chick was a third generation athlete. I don't know what the fuck that means. I guess and he mentioned, he goes by what his grandfather and his father did. So it said his grandfather was a boxer. So I don't know. It was really weird.
Do you know Chick Donovan still wrestles on indie shows over in Georgia to this day?
Oh, my God.
And he's still in phenomenal shape. Of course, he's one of those guys. I mean, he had hair, but he looked old. Like, he's always had like a weird look, like you said, a weird look. And he's always kind of looked old like his whole life. And he really doesn't look that much different. I mean, he's more wrinkled, obviously, and he's got, his hair is gray, but he's still in incredible shape, and he's still having nonsensical matches over here in Georgia, even now.
Man,
go this weekend and see him.
I need to look up Chick Donovan and ask him, what the fuck were you thinking with the hair? So that's what I do.
And this was before Tom Pritchard got his doctorate, by the way.
That's right. He was just Tom Pritchard, and Pritchard was a huge, huge Piper fan, as you know by these interviews down the line after that.
Yes.
But it all was because of a lot of stuff that was going on here with Gordon Soley and everything. Hey, let's take a quick commercial, and then we'll be right back, and we'll talk about the last half of it. All right, we're back with Gene. Gene, we want to thank our sponsors. Gene, how's that spunk loot going with you? You got some samples, and we don't need full details because, even though we are R-rated, we're not X-rated. Just thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think?
Thumbs up. Whatever else is up, As advertised, that's all I can say.
And by the way, we call this in the ring. I never would have told him I was going to say that. So, next up, we got, by the way, I want to tell you a part that you said you kind of, I was going to say but kind of fell asleep in the second half. So let me tell you, the Chick Donovan match, Tom Pritchard beat him, and it has something to do with the last half of the show. But next, we got a commercial, and you could get a calendar. Of all the Georgia Championship Wrestling people, they made a big deal about it in commentary. Some guy came on, and I think it was George Scott, I think that's who it was, and said, hey, make sure you got your pencil and paper down because we're going to give you an address for $7.50. Yeah. Did you, $7.50 you get a calendar?
Hey, speaking of commercials, now, regardless of what you feel about any of the matches on the show or anything of the sort, what a card for the freaking Omni, man. Like, Piper versus Abdullah, Flair versus Stan Hansen, the Samoans against Tito Santana and Terry Gordy, the Iron Sheik $5,000 challenge, like, pretty solid card. Like, I'd have probably been begging my parents to take me to that even at 5.
Oh, it would have been awesome. And I forgot to mention there was an interview with Ole Anderson, and he had put $5,000 on the head of Piper, and Abby had won it. But Abby didn't want it, so he put $10,000 on Piper's head. I thought, that was really strange.
Yeah.
And Ole was just, he was so good on the microphone. What you know about him now makes you, what an asshole, but just so good on the microphone and to talk it through. We had the Iron Sheik come out and Sonny King with the Samoans, which was a weird combo there. Iron Sheik, did not understand a word he fucking said. I don't know what he said. Sonny King was with the Samoans, and I used to be a huge Sonny King fan. When he was in Memphis, he'd come out with that the sucker in his mouth, and I think Sonny had a heart attack or something during this time. And they started using him as a manager. They didn't because he had a huge scar on his chest. He come back to Memphis and did a few matches, but nothing major after this. So I really don't know. I want to say that was what it was. The Iron Sheik, I just cracked up, but I didn't know what was even going on. Stan Hansen was next, talking about a match with Ric Flair. Stan was, he just was so young. I guess, in 1982 he was, but I just thought he always looked old, but in here he looked real young.
Yeah, he did. It was kind of took me by surprise. I mean, like you said, I know it's 82, but he barely even had the mustache in this one, which made him look even younger, which really stood out to me. But then they showed a match of his, and he was every bit the Stan Hansen you know and love.
Yeah, he hit that clothesline, and that was it. He was talking about Ric Flair, that he was against Ric Flair in the Omni, and he had never fought Ric Flair, which I don't know if he had or not. And then at that point, he said something about everybody in Texas was excited about him going against Ric Flair, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Everybody. And then we have Buzz Sawyer and Super Destroyer came up to the mic to talk. Both of them good talkers. Destroyer always was real good if you'd let him talk for a longer period of time. Something I just want to say before I really say whether was this that good or not. Was it really that good? I don't even know the name of our show, by the way, as you can tell. I have to write it down. Was it really that good? This was a commercial. That's all this was.
To be, back then it wasn't about the TV show. It was just about getting you to go buy the ticket to go see the live show. And that's why when you go back and watch these, is it really that good, or was it really that good? Rather, I'm fucking the name up too. They weren't trying to give you good matches on TV. It was just all about getting you to the house show and to the big arena show. So some of it's kind of hard to watch, even in the stuff that we remember to be the good old days and the great. I love Memphis wrestling, but if you really break it down to what the actual studio matches were, they really weren't that great. And this is kind of an example of that. But boy, did Piper cut a promo, and I was kind of got tickled at him making all the fat jokes about Abdullah the Butcher, because most people take him pretty serious. But he was making jokes about Krispy Kremes and all kinds of fat jokes about Abby, which kind of seemed out of place. But, that's Piper. Yeah,
he's just so good, though. And I think that's what there was that surprise about the stuff that he was saying and doing. And he was just, I don't know. He did all kinds of interviews in Portland that was just off the chains. And then when he saw him here, you were a huge Piper fan, and I get it. But I was one of those guys who was like, I'm tired of hearing about Piper. I don't like Piper. But after looking at some of this stuff, and I love the stuff with Hogan, I was just like, oh, God, he was really top of his game. And then, who else done what he was doing? Was this, we didn't have the Jesse Venturas and all that. Here was a guy who was a wrestler who was doing commentary, which was very unusual there. And I think that's part of what that got him so big over with everybody.
It's true. I could see where it could probably get to be a bit much if he was watching it every week, but it certainly gave him an opportunity to, really shine and get his personality over throughout the show. And like I said, this promo in particular about Abdullah and Ole and all that was fun.
All right, I want to play the Ric Flair interview that plays. We have like the second part of the show, and there's a Ric Flair interview. It's kind of strange because it's almost, I want you to listen to it. It's almost a generic. It's only 1 minute and 7 seconds, but even though we all know he's going to wrestle Stan Hansen, it's kind of a generic interview. It's kind of weird the way they did this. So here we go. Let's start playing here.
Ric Flair. Mirror, mirror on the wall, woo! Who is the fairest of them all? Well, if you ask around Atlanta, they'll all be talking about Ric Flair. And brother, we all know why. Not only am I the best-looking man on the face of this earth, lots of pretty jewelry, lots of pretty clothes, lots of big cars, lots of fancy airplanes, and any woman I want, just like that. And you know why? Because I just happen to be the world heavyweight champion. And like it or not, that makes me the best. Atlanta, get to know this. Learn to love it. Learn to live with it. Just like Stan Hansen and Harley Race and Rich and everybody else are going to have to do. Ric Flair is the world champion forever. Woo!
Yeah, I thought it was funny that he says race, Stan Hansen, and Rich. And, I mean, it's like he didn't know who he was going to wrestle. He sent that in. They showed a squash from Mid-Atlantic. Everyone, I remember my friends when they would come back, and I didn't get to watch Georgia Championship Wrestling. Everyone was so excited when Ric Flair was actually there live on television. That had to be a big deal for everybody during that time.
Right. Can you believe he came out to that Ric Flair drip rap song at his most recent wedding the other day? That just kills me.
No, I did not know that. Those pictures are classic, though. They almost every one of the pictures, if you have not got a chance to see them, or that one picture, there was a guy, I guess the guy that did the rap song, someone memed it and said there's a pimp in the house, and then the look on the other guy's face that's there is just hilarious. And then that picture of Undertaker and Michael Hayes and Shane Helms, and Shane is the only one that's dressed like he should be going to a wedding.
Pink suit and a black fanny pack. I mean, Michael Hayes is just I don't even know what to say for him at this point.
I don't even know what he's trying to do. I think it's just his. I don't think it's a gimmick anymore. I just think that's what he does. So, I don't know if you've seen this part, but what we had. Rich had a squash. Tommy Rich did something really fucking weird. I don't know. The finish was strange. What he did. I think he went down for a sunset flip, but the other guy, I don't know. I really don't. It was really fucked up. He finished him off. Then we had Chick Donovan against Mike Jackson. So tell me what you know about Mike Jackson.
Oh my God. Speaking of guys who are still wrestling to this day, Mike Jackson is still doing indie shows every weekend in Alabama, and he's most known for his raffles. He insists on doing a raffle at every show, and he cleans up, makes killing at it. He sits outside the local Piggly Wiggly or Dollar General and sells tickets all day. That's why the promoters love him. And then professes to be a man of God while signing other wrestlers' names to pictures of them and selling them at his gimmick table. As I personally sit and watched him sign 20 pictures of him and Jerry Lawler, and he signed his name on one side in one marker, and then he took a different color marker and signed Lawler's name on the other side. Then he did the same. Then he did the same with a stack of pictures of Dusty Rhodes, and I sat there and listened to him tell people the story all night of when they signed them at a show in Atlanta or wherever it was, with complete straight face, not a bit of guilt or anything. And then he would say, "God bless you," as they would walk away and stick the money in his pocket. So I don't think a whole hell of a lot of Mike Jackson, the way most people seem to have this affection for him and the Alabama junior heavyweight champion.
Well, we talked, I think we talked about this on the last show, that I think it's that Carney mentality. When what he's doing there, it's not even considered lying or anything. He would never consider that. He's just working the people. So
working.
That's all he's doing. He's working them. Well, Chick Donovan came out. He wrestled Mike Jackson, beat Mike Jackson. He'd lost earlier. He challenged Piper for that 10K. He was going to take that 10K from Piper. And, guys, I'm going to give you the link for this when we get done here. It'll be on my site. I'll probably post it there on localstolegends.com also. And it'll be in the Twitter. Every time I tweet, the link will be in there. He whips the shit out of Chick Donovan, Piper does. Hey, I swear to God, he beats him in the ring, takes him out of the ring, and you're thinking to yourself, he is getting an ass whipping. So that's exactly what it felt like. So,
hey, can I say one thing?
Sure.
You said something a minute ago, and I almost said something. I caught myself, but I got to go back and say it, or I won't forgive myself. For anybody who caught this as they were listening, you said Tommy Rich did something very weird, and I almost said, did it involve Jim Barnett? And then you followed up with, he went down for a sunset flip, and he finished him off, and I was like, oh, now I wish I'd have got the Barnett line in, but Well, this had been before or after he had won the world title from Harley Race. Speaking of
God, I don't even know the year. I don't. But Rich was hot, man. As soon as he would come out, they would just pop big for him. And this is after he'd left Memphis, and he was a big deal in Memphis too. He was feuding against Buzz Sawyer at the time. We had a Buzz Sawyer squash against Burrhead Jones. Yes, there was a wrestler named Burrhead Jones.
I know you couldn't do that now.
Do what?
You couldn't get away with that now. Oh my Lord!
I think I'm going to start if someone will be okay with me calling them Burrhead, please contact me. I want to do a podcast with you. So it'd be BT and Burrhead. But man, Sawyer was rough on him and did his power slam as a finisher. He had this big bandage on his head because, as you know, almost every one of those magazines back in the time, him and Rich were bleeding like stuck pigs. And something I want to play, another little clip. I always like to play clips on here. It's towards the end. I want you to hear. Remember, Tommy Rich was a huge babyface at the time, okay? And so at the very end of the show, Rich comes out to do an interview, and it's only about 46 seconds. And I want you to sit and listen to this. Kind of weird, too.
And, of course, also Monday night in Augusta, Georgia, Tuesday in Chatsworth, Georgia, and on Thursday in Alma, Georgia. And Tommy Wildfire Rich is going to be a busy man.
You know, Gordon, I heard somebody out here holler, Sissy Rich. You know what it amounts to? You know, Tommy Rich ain't out here to impress everybody, Gordon Sully. I know that everybody don't like Tommy Rich, but you know, as long as I got them little kids, the little boys and the little girls behind Tommy Rich, that's what means something to me. Some little punk out in the crowd hollering, that don't mean nothing. You know what it reminds me of is a young Buzz Sawyer. Buzz Sawyer, Huntington, West Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, the Omni. Anywhere I get a chance, brother, I'm going to straighten you out.
It's world.
You know, he says at the very front of the interview, he says, some punk out there calling me sissy. And it's like he's got, you know, they used to call it rabbit ears. The wrestlers would call it rabbit ears because if you hear everything the crowd says, it sometimes bugs the shit out of you, you know. So you wouldn't, they say, don't have rabbit ears, you know, because they come back and say, that woman said, but he also talks about somebody calling him a sissy, and he says, I know everyone don't like Tommy Rich. And I'm like, wait. You were the hottest babyface there. Yeah. Everyone did like Tommy Rich. So somebody got on his nerves in the crowd, which I thought was hilarious. And then Buzz, you know, they have Buzz do an interview close to the end, right after that. And Buzz actually calls him Sissy Rich or something. He says, they're calling you Sissy Rich. That's the perfect thing to call you. And Buzz was just, I've heard bad things about Buzz Sawyer. There's some kind of story with Mark, the Undertaker, where he took all the Undertaker's money to train him, never trained him. And there's all kinds of things like that. But Buzz, I love Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich. I loved that feud back then. And it was all in the magazines. And, you know, we finally got to see like the final match, and it wasn't a big deal, you know, compared to what we watch now. But just love that stuff. The show ended. You didn't miss anything at the very end, Gene. It ended with a Samoan squash and Iron Sheik making that challenge with those damn things that he used to do, which I'm told that was a shoot. I never knew that, but I was actually told that was a shoot. I think Eric Wayne said that he was there during Memphis and he tried to pick them up and you couldn't pick them up. But they challenge anybody.
In later years, they must have become at work because Leslie Jones carried one under each arm through Memphis Airport when he picked him up for an IWF show.
Oh my God, that's
back
hilarious.
in 2000.
Well, he challenged anybody in the crowd at the time. You could come up and you could actually do them. So I don't know if they had someone placed in the crowd for that or not or what. But and then I've heard, you know, that the Iron Sheik was not a good wrestler, but he was a legit tough guy, and he's one of those guys that, you know, in that time that was a big deal to be a badass. And I don't know how they put up with him. I mean, if he acted any way he does now that you see all this stuff or anything, how they would actually put up with him backstage. I understood nothing he was saying. Gordon was the translating, and Gordon was fantastic. Still just as good as he always was. And he was good at the commercial. That's exactly what this was, a commercial for the shows, and he put everything over, constantly put them over in the matches. So that was the good part about it. But we got to answer, was it really that good? And Gene, I hate to tell people this, but this fucking sucked, okay? I don't like the way, and I remember it fondly. But if you're watching it now, guys, all you're seeing is squash matches and maybe one good interview during the whole time. And I'll tell you, if WWE fans was having to take this show every week, except what they're having now, man, Twitter would be going nuts over something like this.
Yeah, they would. Like I say, the business was just structured different back then, and that was what people expected. And then they had to go spend their money because, like I said, this show, as you said, sucked a dick and it wasn't good, but man, I would have been falling over myself to try to get to the Omni to see that card that they were plugging through the whole thing, because it was from top to bottom, man. It was a stacked card for sure. And
did you say you'd be sucking dick to get to that card? Is that what you said?
No, I said I would be falling over myself to get to that card. Why does everything come back around to sucking dick for you? Jesus, it's on the brain, I guess. But, hey, real quick, you kind of touched on it briefly, but you mentioned tape trader, and I was a tape trader. And, oh, my God, was there ever a bigger holy grail that everyone was always looking for than that last Battle of Atlanta, Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer, and every con artist rip-off shithead would come along, especially once it started being on message boards and stuff, and they would claim that they had first-generation footage of Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer, and they'd rip a whole bunch of people off, and they'd disappear. And it finally made it on the WWE Network, and like you said, God, what a disappointment. I mean, for the day, it was groundbreaking, but I mean, having seen all the Hell in the Cells and things we've seen now, it's like, I've been waiting 20-something years to see that. Like, Jesus.
I know. I felt the same way, too. I'd put it over, though. I said, oh, yeah, that was good, I wouldn't admit I waited that long for something that you go, okay, yeah, that wasn't really that good. It was bloody, and it was, Yeah. That's, if you haven't seen it yet, it's in the hidden gems section, I think. Guys, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Gene, real quick, how do we get a hold of you on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's at GeneJackson95. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/KingofAllWrestlingMedia.
There we go. Same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. Love my mama.